is on the wrong network. So a variable, you can think about a variable as a container. And it's a container that can hold one and only one thing. So far, so good. And if we put something else new in the container, the thing that was originally in the container is gone. And so we used that in our code here by changing the value of joke and answer. Come on. Why can't I project my iPad? Oh, I know why. Because this is what it is. I hate waiting. There we go. Come on. Ask me for the code. 8477. All right. So, as I said, when we say let num get 10, what we're saying is create a container somewhere, like a bucket, write num on the front of it, and then we stick a 10 inside of the bucket. And then if later I say num gets 12, I literally go in, I erase the 10, so the 10 is dead to me, and I write 12. That's what we're doing when we create a variable. So far, so good? An array is kind of like a bunch of buckets welded together. So I could have an array by taking a bunch of buckets and welding them together. And each of these buckets can now hold something else. So far so good? So I might be able to put a 12 in this bucket, and a 7 in this bucket, and a 15 in this bucket, and a 23 in this bucket, and a 0 in that bucket. So far so good? And I might call this entire welded thing nums because I got more than one number, yeah? But how do I access each of those individual buckets in our array? To access the individual buckets in the array, I've got to know which bucket it's in. You with me? So if I want the third bucket, I want to get that 15 out, I need to ask for the third bucket. If I want to get the 0 out, I got to ask for the last bucket. So as it turns out, the buckets are numbered. You with me? But computers don't count like we do. When we count, we go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not how computers count. Computers always start at 0 when they start counting. So the first bucket is bucket 0. The second bucket is bucket 1. The third bucket is bucket 2, and so on. So if I've got 5 buckets, the biggest bucket is bucket 4. Does that make sense? So this is an array of numbers. So if I want that third one in the thing, so if I did a console.log and I want to print the value of the third bucket, I would do it like this. I would write nums, the name of the array, the square bracket, and then the bucket that it's in is bucket 2, which is my third bucket. And that would then print 15 to my console. Does that make sense? So far, so good? So if I wanted to print the fourth one, I would write nums square bracket 3, and that would print the fourth one. So far, so good? That's it. If I wanted to change the value of one of them, let's say I wanted to change the value of that third number, I would say nums 2 gets some other value, maybe something like 50. And what that would mean is I would go in to nums2, which is right here. I would erase the 15 that's there, and then I would write a 50 in its place. That's what this line of code would do right here. So far, so good? So how are we going to use this with our jokes? Well, first off, when we create an array, so remember, this is how I create a variable. The let keyword lets me create a variable. This is the name of the variable, and this says give it this value, right? So this declares the variable, and this then gives it its initial value of 10. Well, to declare an array, we use that let keyword again. We give it a name, and one way we can create our array is then I can say like this, and if I wanted to say 12, comma 7, comma 50, comma 23, comma 0, I will then have created this welded assemblage of buckets named nums. Does that make sense? You with me so far? I know you're trying to figure out, but what does this have to do with jokes, Mr. Dickey? This is not funny. This is confusing. Confusing, not funny. This is not a joke. So far, so good? Do you have kind of a basic, at the most basic level, understanding of what we've just been talking about? We good so far? What we can do is we can create an array of jokes. And so that same thing that we put in for our joke before, we can put in I'm running out of space. And then I'm going to put a comma, and then I can actually go to my next line just if I want. It doesn't matter if I got a return in there, you know what I'm saying? And then this will be the next joke. Then we do a comma, and then we do our third joke. Comma, and then I do my fourth joke, and so on. Or no comma that time. I'm gonna close it off with just 4 jokes for now. But I could keep going, right? So I have joke 0, joke 1, joke 2, joke 3, because we always start at 0. And then we do the same thing for our answers. And we do our answers the same way. So far, so good? All right. So let's take a look at our code for a second and see what that would look like. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go ahead and, I don't want to screw up my original Ghost code, so I'm going to duplicate this, my code. By my code, I mean I stole Ryan's. Sorry, Ryan. So I'm going to end up modifying this, which means I'm going to get rid of a lot of it. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to, again, I'm going to be I'm using this as kind of a guide for now, but I'm going to be replacing a lot of it. You with me? A lot of it's going to go away. So how do we do that? What we're going to do is we know I'm going to make an array of jokes. And I'm just going to go ahead and start with the square bracket. I'm just going to come down here, and for each of my joke ones, I'm going to grab this thing, the question. Because I'm lazy, and I don't want to have to retype that and figure out where my /n goes, comma, and then I'm going to do my next one. Let's go ahead and drag this over so it's all in. Come on. There we go. And again, I can go to the next line there without breaking anything. And I'm going to come down and get my second joke. And come back up. I'm going to paste that. I'm going to get my third joke. I know, very repetitive. And then I'm going to get my fourth joke. And for now, I'm just going to go with 4 jokes, but you can use the same idea to figure out how you would, I mean, you just keep going and you could have 10 jokes or 50 jokes. I'm going to create an array of answers. And I'm going to do the exact same thing because I'm lazy. And then we got to figure out how we're going to use this. So now that I've done this, I don't need any of those joke functions. All of these joke functions, joke 1, joke 2, joke 3, joke 4, those are all dead to me. Bam, they go away. I don't need a single one of them. So far, so good? So now, how do I know which question to ask? So let's think about that for a second. So I'm going to get rid of my if statements here for a second. I'm just going to go back to our real basic idea to start with, which was where we started here. Oh, I got too many closed curly braces. Again, you may want some of that I just deleted, but for now I just want to start here. So when I ask a question, which question do I want to ask? I want to ask the first one. And so I know my questions are really in jokes. And my first one I know is jokes 0, which means I know my answers is also going to be answer 0 for now. So if I run this, uh-oh, did I get rid of something that I need? Question v answer 0, I hit run. Oh, there we go, okay. So right now I'm just toggling between these two, right? So all I did is I took all of my jokes and I put them in one array together. And then I took all of my answers and I put them in one array together. So far, so good? And again, if I want to make it look like my jokes array, I would just do this. That way it's easy to see which one's which. And it's kind of like back at my start again, where I just have this if statement that's toggling. I get rid of all the other if statements. So how do I make it give me the next joke, though? Because right now, it only can ask jokes 0 and answers 0. It can only ask jokes 0 and answers 0. But I want it to start at 0, then I want it to go to 1, right? And then I want it to go to 2, and then I want it to go to 3. So what do I do for that? How do I keep track of which joke I'm on? Can I keep track of which joke I'm on? Can the computer do that for me? How did we do that before? Did we keep track of which joke we were on before? Look at your own code. Did you keep track of which joke you were on before? How did you do it? The code you turned in last week. Did you turn in code last week? Yes or no? Did you keep track of which joke you were on? Yes or no?
Yes.
How did you do it?
I used a joke number variable.
Used a joke variable?
Joke number variable.
Joke number variable. So if we had a joke number variable, we could do that, right? So it looks like, so I'm going to go ahead and change this to joke number. If I come down here, rather than jokes 0, I put in joke number. If I run this, it's still the same, but what needs to happen? Oh, this line went red. So, hey Ryan, what was this line intended to do? Line 42 in your code, what was that line intended to do?
Keep track of the jokes.
Keep track of the jokes. So since I changed it from joke to joke number, I should change this, right?
And then it's all plus 1.
And then, well, it depends, right? So what's happening? What's going to happen? So when I press the mouse, if question v answer is 0, it makes it 1. And we know when question v answer is 1, I will see the answer, yeah? When question v answer is 0, I see the question. And when question v answer is 1, I see the answer. And then if I click when it's 1, I will see it'll set question v answer back to 0 again, so it will show me a question. But then it will also increase the value of joke number. So now if I run this, oh, there's the second question. And there's the third question. And there's the fourth question. And now I'm out of questions because I got rid of the code that Ryan had there that something would happen when joke got too big. So this code ends up being a lot simpler than your last code, doesn't it? Because of the additional. And here's the other thing. I could add more jokes. I just went through 4 jokes, but I could come back here and go with, what do jokes use to wash their hair? So I can come over, so I can come over here, copy that because I'm lazy. Give me a comma, hit enter, quote, paste. And then I come down to here, give me a comma, quote, I better go get the answer. What do they use to wash their hair? Shampoo. That is not a good joke. But I'm putting it in. There we go. So now I got 5 jokes. Oh, but that one wraps off the side, doesn't it? So I better fix this. So I'm going to put my /n right here. Look at that. I had 5 jokes, and I didn't have to change my program at all, did I? All I had to do was just add to my array. So 50 jokes takes no more code than 5 jokes. It just takes a longer array. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about that? Or are you just like, Mr. Dickey, I'm just lost. I have no idea. I can't even ask a question. Where did I lose you then? And don't just say, when you started talking today. Because when I started talking today, I introduced the variable, and I should not have lost you at that. What's your question?
Where did you put,
I can't hear you.
where did you put joke number? Like, but like,
Right there.
but like, it doesn't work.
What is it? What is your error message?
I think it says it's not like defined.
Okay, so did you, up at the top, did you,
like just let.
you need to let joke number, don't you? Or yours is counter.
Oh, so it's, oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? You could be counter if you want. Noah said joke number, so I used a joke number.
Oh, okay.
The name of the variable doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
Whatever variable you were using to keep track of your jokes, you can still use that same variable. Does that make sense? You can use the same variable you used. The only reason I chose joke number is because Noah chose joke number. The code I started with was Ryan's, and that started with joke. So I changed his to joke number. Yours is counter. What was yours?
Jeremiah.
What's that?
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah, which is a fine name, not a good variable name. Make sense? All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to put arrays in and give me a bunch more jokes. Lots of them. Lots and lots of them.